Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, TYT Nation, Jeff Waldorf here. Welcome to the show. It's Monday. I hope everybody had a great, safe, and happy 4th of July weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself, but also stayed safe. Coronavirus, it's no joke, man. Still going on. Apparently, there was, and I forget the Broadway actor's name now for some reason, but Broadway actor just recently, he's 41 years old, I think. He's in his 40s, early 40s, just died from COVID-19. And so it's just a reminder, of course, that, look, man, it's serious virus. It's no joke. And so mask up. That said, we're going to have some people that are very angry at the idea of wearing masks. Because of course, right? Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm guys, I read your comments and I really enjoy them. And one comment is about somebody who ran into a guy who thinks that Fauci created coronavirus. I don't know, man. Nick Cordero. Thank you, guys. I don't know why I couldn't remember that man's name. But you're right about that. It is Nick Cordero. Again, Broadway actor in his early 40s. Got he had to have his leg amputated. He was fighting the virus for like 95 days. It's not anything to mess around with. Don't mess around with it. But again, look, if you guys paid attention to, people around your area and what they're doing, especially the holiday weekend, you've probably seen a lot of people messing around. We ain't never getting over this thing, are we? Jesus. All right, anyway. So, yeah, we've got a bunch of people angry at wearing masks. Then we're also going to talk about, of course, Donald Trump growing the swamp. We've got John Bolton, again, telling us things that we pretty much already know about Donald Trump. Nonetheless, it's interesting to hear it from somebody who was in the administration. We've also got Fox News cutting out Trump from an Epstein photo. Curious that. And so, yeah. And then, of course, we've got the normal amount of horrible hatred, racist hatred in this country. We've got an example of it in Vermont, of all places. So if you think that it's, oh no, Vermont, never happened there. It happens everywhere. That's racism. All right. Anyway, yes. Kanye. There's a super chat here from Dango Bangle. Says, how much do you want to bet Kanye becomes president the same way Trump did? Let me just say, Kanye is not a serious person. Like, he thinks he's a serious person, but he's really not a serious person. He's like super. I don't know. There's something wrong with him. And I guess you could be like, well, yeah, but there's a lot wrong with Donald Trump too. And guess what? He became president. Okay, fair enough. But I don't think his run is a serious run. But then again, look, go back to like 2015, and everybody's like, oh, Donald Trump's run is not a serious run. So I don't know. Like, I guess I don't really want to take a chance on that one. Okay. So anyway, oh, by the way, we are streaming on Twitch and on Facebook. So I'm reading your comments here on Facebook as well. So thank you for joining us, Adrian Simpson. So on Facebook, a little bit of shout out action. I'm trying to get more comments not just from YouTube, but from Facebook as well. So and if there's anybody on Twitch, we're a little new there. So not a lot of follows yet. Every once in a while, I will stream me playing a video game or something like that. But anyway, we're doing mainly news streams, and so I'm getting used to all of this streaming everywhere. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to the first story here. Let's talk about the swamp. Remember the swamp? I do. Pepperidge Farm remembers. All right, anyway. While President Donald Trump is publicly downplaying the coronavirus in order to help his reelection, in private, Trump's allies are using this crisis to make an extra buck. Now, according to the group Public Citizen, who just released a new report on Monday, exposing over 40 Trump-connected lobbyists who have raked in over $10 billion in federal COVID-19 relief. So understand, that is your tax money. That's your tax dollars going to these corporations, going to these lobbyists, right? And these lobbyists, of course, have made it so that these billions have made it into the pockets of their corporate clients. The dozens of lobbyists with ties to Trump through his campaigns, his administration, and or his transition team, according to the report, collectively have represented at least 150 clients on COVID matters. Public Citizen notes in its new report called the COVID Lobbying Palooza. Yep, accurate. It is a lobbying palooza because it's America. Now, those clients include Pfizer, Comcast, McDonald's, MasterCard, and American Airlines. So let me give you a quote from this report. The crisis offered an especially lucrative opportunity for those lobbyists who enjoy close ties to President Donald Trump and his administration, and of course they seized it. They have reported lobbying to obtain special industry carve-outs for aid, government approval of their clients' products, and most commonly, COVID-related aid across a myriad of programs. In total, Public Citizen found that 27 clients of Trump-connected lobbyists have secured about $10.5 billion in taxpayer coronavirus aid, a sum that is likely an underestimate because it does not include data from the $650 billion Paycheck Protection Program, in which, of course, the data is not public. It's being hidden by the Trump administration. They are not telling us who is getting that aid. They're like, no. Transparency, we don't care about transparency. No, we're not interested at all in being transparent. We're not going to tell you who gets this aid. And you know what? We passed it that way. Both Democrats and Republicans in Congress, they explicitly put that in, that they didn't have to be transparent for the first 6 months. And so there's that. Isn't it nice to know that the government is literally hiding where our money is going? Yeah. I mean, it could go to Trump-related businesses, not to Trump himself, because, well, I guess we don't really know that for sure. because when has Donald Trump ever followed the rules, even his rules? And so there's a very good chance that it probably could have ended up in Donald Trump's pockets or members of his family. And so that's where your money's going. Yeah, it's while we get a $1,200 check, by the way, we get a $1,200 check and some unemployment benefits, right? Some people get them, not everybody, obviously. So here's the thing: there's more. The $10.5 billion total, according to Public Citizen, consists of $6.3 billion in grants, $4.2 billion in loans, and $67 million worth of support in the form of corporate bond purchases by the Federal Reserve. So most of that, $6.3 billion, that's grant money. They don't have to give that back. They don't have to pay that back. So that's just free money given to corporations. And the $4.2 billion in loans. The way this is set up, by the way, the Paycheck Protection Program is set up is if, you don't fire employees, right, that you can convert that loan into a grant and not have to pay that back. And so, look, a lot of these companies are taking advantage, taking your tax money, and they didn't necessarily need it. So now, in reading this story, something occurred to me, right? And I admit it's kind of speculative on my part, and I'll be honest about that. But what if Donald Trump isn't quite as dumb about COVID-19 as I tend to think? Remember, like a lot of the stuff that I've said is, okay, always count on stupidity. He's a dumb person. He's a dangerous person. And look, generally, yeah, I'm usually right about him being stupid. He's not an intelligent man. He's not a smart person. But he's good at getting money, right? He's good at scamming and cheating the system, kind of. And so, and I say that because, this is somebody who's went bankrupt 6 times and yet still somehow has money. All right. Anyway, so my thought process on this, and hear me out, right? So what if he's not as ignorant about COVID-19 as we think and actually knows exactly how dangerous this is? Again, this is somebody who's a germaphobe, right? And instead of advocating for policy and things that would stop coronavirus, like wearing masks and social distancing, he is instead doing opposite. So now there are numerous reasons, of course, being floated by people like, why would Donald Trump do that? Well, for one, look, you could say the counter argument to that is, yeah, but it's hurting his reelection chances. Well, okay, right. Well, but the other counter argument to that is, well, okay, but he's keeping his base happy by, saying that, oh, it's a hoax. It's the Democrats that are trying to destroy me. So you need to get out there. You need to vote as soon as possible. It's also setting up a way, by the way, for him to blame corruption and to blame vote rigging and all that stuff, just in case he loses, right? And so there's always that. There's an out, okay? But also, he might be doing this because of the money. It's not just stupidity, right? Yes, I say bank on stupidity, but also bank on greed, because that's really who Donald Trump is. He's a greedy, stupid man. And so he doesn't care about the damage coronavirus is doing to the American people, even to the American economy, as long as, it doesn't affect his, obviously, his reelection chances. I mean, here's what I think his thought process on this is. A lot of it's happening in cities, right? Where there's a lot of, urban Democrats, essentially, right? Democratic voters tend to be more located in the cities, right? And so what if Donald Trump says, well, who cares? Those people aren't my voters. Those are the blacks. Those are the Democrats, the urban voters. I'm not going to win those guys anyway, so I don't give a damn about fighting coronavirus. And look, if Fox News tells me that I'm doing great in coronavirus or great with my voters, then that's great. If they tell me that I'm not doing great, then that's fake news. And I'm done with them, except for people like Tucker Carlson, who I love. I mean, Yeah, sure, it's speculation, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if that is his attitude on this. Add in the fact that Trump connected lobbyists are making bank, and therefore, in his mind, they owe him one. I mean, is that really all too far fetched, right? That he looks at these companies that are making money off programs that he signed, and he thinks, well, those guys owe me. They owe me what, money, or they owe me something, right? Maybe they're gonna donate to my reelection campaign, or even afterwards. Hey, I got clout now. If once I'm out of office, I'm going back to running my business. Now I got a bunch of other businessmen that owe me a favor because I helped them out and gave them COVID relief. Well, then that's going to benefit me later on, and I'm going to cash in those favors. Again, one thing you have to understand about Donald Trump is that he is transactional, right? So if he does something, he immediately believes that that's going to lead to him getting something for it down the road. He does not do anything altruistically. So there's that, right? Now, getting back to the administration itself, didn't they ban lobbying? Well, yes, actually they did. But surprise, surprise, these lobbyists are not following the administration's rules. Public Citizen identified at least 5 of the lobbyists, including former Transportation Department official Jeffrey Burr and former Treasury advisor Jordan Stoic, had violated or may have violated a Trump executive order that restricts lobbying activities by former officials. The report reads that in many cases, the forms indicate that former officials' agencies were directly lobbied, which is against, of course, the Trump executive order. Hey, look, the Trump administration saying one thing and doing the complete opposite. How surprising that there's literally no enforcement of that executive order whatsoever. Almost like it was put there for show, but completely and utterly toothless. Shocker. Craig Holman, a registered lobbyist for Public Citizen and a campaign finance expert, told the Associated Press that the group is planning to file ethics complaints with the White House over these alleged apparent violations. Holman says this: there does not appear to be anyone who is enforcing the executive order, and says the investigation into the activity is warranted, although it's probably not going to happen. Let's be honest about this. The administration, or if it does happen, the administration's going to say, well, we looked into ourselves and we found out that we didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. That's probably going to be the way that it goes. See, look at that. We're 100% transparent about an investigation that we pretended to do about ourselves and then let ourselves go. Drain the swamp. All right, anyway. And now Public Citizen, the group itself, put out a statement to the AP that said few scenarios would better embody most people's image of the Washington swamp than dozens of hired gun lobbyists cashing in on their government connections during a public health emergency. But understand now, right, that it's not just Washington. This is America. America is pretty much known for its institutional corruption. Remember, before the executive order from the Trump administration, this kind of activity was widespread. It was normal, and it's still normal. And it's happening again during a pandemic, during COVID-19. And so, look, instead of taking care of its citizens, our government took care of the corporations. They gave the American people scraps, as I mentioned before, one $1,200 check plus some unemployment benefits that are about to run out that many people haven't still received. By the way, it's set to expire July 31st, the end of this month, and we still have a pandemic. In fact, it's worse than it has before. Look, there are experts out there that are saying that any progress that we had made locking down the country, remember in the beginning of this COVID crisis, right? Once some people actually started to take it seriously and decided to lock down a lot of the country, right? Any progress that we made is gone, has been completely erased because people have been irresponsible. And states have been irresponsible. And so here we have COVID spikes all over the country. We've hit 2.8 million total infections that we know of, over 130,000 dead. I mean, look, we're around 50,000 new cases a day here in this country. And so I don't see it getting better. It's going to get worse. And yet, what is the government doing? Nothing. No more COVID relief for regular people. No more unemployment benefits. Get everybody back to work. And that's their plan. That's exactly what they're going to do. And so, and this is, by the way, while companies are cashing in. They're still cashing in. Both of those programs to help regular people are a tiny little fraction of what we've given to the corporations. It's the corruption, and we need to fix that corruption. Now, Public Citizen suggests first and foremost that we should be transparent about it. In the short term, the government, of course, should do everything it possibly can to offer the public an unobstructed window into the details of where the trillions in public dollars are going. Of course, they're not going to do that. We know they're not going to do that. And I doubt that they would even do that during a Democratic administration. Because, look, Obama Biden, right? We just got done with that. And they were saying that they were the most transparent administration in history, when in reality, they were not. And so you expect a Biden administration to be transparent? No, they're going to be about as transparent as a Trump administration, which means not at all. And now he also said, in the long term, future administrations and Congress should embrace systemic reforms to sever the conflicts of interest that incentivize government officials to favor the wealthy and the well-connected over the constituents whom they are hired to serve. Well, the problem with that, of course, is how can you get a Congress to change when Congress is the one benefiting from the corruption in the first place? Again, Congress has got this revolving door where people in the administration and in Congress, they will go after their terms and they will get lobbyist jobs and they'll come back and lobby their friends, basically. And they'll get paid massive amounts of money to do it. I mean, Joe Crowley, for example, the guy who was beaten by AOC last time, right? Well, Joe Crowley became a lobbyist after he lost his position. Dave Brat became a lobbyist. I'm sorry, not Dave Brat. Eric Cantor, who was beaten by Dave Brat, became a lobbyist. A lot of these people, once they get kicked out of Congress, become lobbyists. And so, no, depending on Congress, is not going to do the job because they benefit from the corruption and they will continue that corruption because they're allowed to. Look, electoral politics is not going to save us from this problem. This problem. You got to take it to the streets. I mean, look how effective Black Lives Matter protests were. Imagine the millions of Americans demanding an end to the corruption and taking to the streets to do it. Electoral politics alone, and I say alone because that is a component, it is a factor, because you do have to elect uncorrupted politicians, and there are certainly ones that do exist, and you need them to get these policies passed, but they're not going to do it unless, and they're not going to win, unless there's public outrage, and people that carry them into power, and you need to have these politicians as well that fear for their jobs. And so it's got to be both an outside and an inside movement. You've got to have people on the ground, on the streets, and you've got to have people in Congress as well that are beholden to those people. That's the only way we're really going to get any sort of change. All right. That's it. Let's move on. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton went after Donald Trump's TV habit during an interview on Face the Nation. So now host Margaret Brennan asked the former Trump administration official and cowardly grifter, that's what I call him, if the president's thinking was shaped more by television or his advisors. And of course, here is Bolton's answer.
Well, I think it's a combination of television and listening to people outside the government that he trusts for one reason or another. I think that if you could clock the amount of time he spent actually in the Oval Office versus the amount of time he spends in the little dining room off the Oval Office with the cable news networks of one form or another on, it would be a very interesting statistic.
So basically, John Bolton is backing up earlier reports of Donald Trump spending a lot of his free time watching TV, which is true. That was first reported by the New York Times back in April. They wrote that Trump watches as much as 7 hours of cable news each morning and doesn't arrive into the Oval Office until about noon. Well, that's executive time. Well, obviously. He's got to take a break from not working by not working. And what better way to not work than to watch TV in style? In fact, Time Magazine reported that the president had a 60-inch television installed in his private White House dining room back in 2017. Because, of course, Donald Trump doesn't take his time to go and read up on foreign policy or anything like that. Oh, no. He says he knows everything about foreign policy because he's that much of a genius, because he's so incredibly smart. He's smarter than everybody. He's smarter than the generals. He said he would know if he could have a deal with Kim Jong-un within the first few seconds. Idiot. So no, he's going to take that time instead to watch television. Ridiculous. Now, according to the New York Times, by the way, Donald Trump watches Fox News, obviously, which was making him increasingly cranky at the time, and still is, CNN, and a tiny little bit of MSNBC. So he watches, let me rephrase that. He hate watches, right? CNN and MSNBC. Don Lemon, he hates that guy, right? Joe Scarborough absolutely hates that guy. And then loves Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Fox and Friends, Lou Dobbs. He hates everybody else. Basically, he likes the people who kiss his ass. Of course. Those are the people that the president loves to watch. And even the people on CNBC. So there's no real, breaking news on this. This is a confirmation of what we already know. But it is interesting to hear it from people who had actually been in the administration. What's interesting as well is he could have come out and said this earlier. He could have corroborated these reports. He could have backed them up. He could have done a lot of things. Instead, he waited, he wrote a book, and now he's trying to profit off it. That's why I call John Bolton a cowardly grifter, because that's what he is. Even though what he's saying is absolutely true and is backed up by a lot of other people, in the administration, other reports from the administration, from unnamed sources, he still could have done something, I guess. He could have been somebody who had really taken a stand. Instead, like a lot of these people who were in the administration, who are no longer in the administration, who were kicked out or who had quit, they put their own personal worth, or I should say, well-being or net worth or whatever, ahead of the rest of the country in order to make an extra buck. Understand that that's who these people are, right? They are, even if they're, anti-Trump. And here's something that we've got to remember that a lot of, unfortunately, Democrats, establishment liberals have forgotten, right? That these people are terrible people. Like, I love the ads the Lincoln Project puts out. But you got to remember, they're also Republicans. They're also terrible people like Bill Kristol, who were in favor of disastrous wars like the Iraq War. And so these are not good people, even though they're anti-Trump. And that's what you have to remember. John Bolton's not a good person because he's anti-Trump. John Bolton is cowardly. He is a grifter, but he's right. And he just gives us more confirmation of stuff that we already knew. And he's going to continue to do that. But it is interesting to watch, because I wonder how Donald Trump is going to melt down and react to what is already true. And so that's what's interesting about it. All right. Speaking of meltdown, let's go to Jeanine Pirro. Anti-mask conservatives had a bit of a meltdown after Jeanine Pirro posted a photo of herself wearing a mask. Now, Pirro, look, in the earlier days of the pandemic, like a lot of Fox News hosts, downplayed the virus, downplayed the risks, right? And we're not on board with mask mandates, right? Now, other Fox hosts, however, have started to change their tune. For example, Steve Doocy has said, yeah, but I think the president should wear a mask to set a good example. You also have Sean Hannity saying masks work, right? And so along with them, Pirro has begun promoting the use of masks as a way to, of course, slow the spread of coronavirus, which is seeing massive outbreaks in a lot of places that have opened early. And to be fair, California has also seen a massive increase in coronavirus cases, even though they have not opened early. In fact, they were actually quite slow to reopen, and they themselves have had huge increases in coronavirus cases. So let's be fair. This isn't a political issue, right? And this isn't a red state versus blue state because, look, Ohio, for example, Governor Mike DeWine has actually done an excellent job of dealing with coronavirus in his state compared, of course, to Ron DeSantis in Florida and Gavin Newsom, apparently, and, of course, Andrew Cuomo. So anyway, that said, right, one thing that Pirro also tried to do is she tried to use her program to press the White House to deliver 100,000 masks to a hospital that she was in favor of. Okay. That's funny, right? So proving that even if she is on the right side of an issue, finally, she still somehow ends up being awful, which is weird. So let me give you the show you the first photo here. And this is, let's see. That's the photo, right? Wearing my mask out east. Great. Okay, awesome. Wearing a mask. Now, her fans were not happy about this, as I'm going to show you here. So now first, some of them were convinced that she had become a sheep. One person says, take it off, Judge. Don't be a sheep. You're better than that. Another one says, come on, Judge, get over the scam already. Another one says, so you're a masked sheep. I'm really disappointed. So, a lot of those. There's other comments that are disparaging of her, of course. One says, why, you look ridiculous. You're outside. Well, you also do have to wear a mask outside as well. It is recommended that you do so and remain, of course, 6 feet away. Outside, it's obviously a lot better and a lot more difficult to get COVID-19 as compared to being inside. But nonetheless, that's the recommendations. And look, there's some debate whether or not it could be coronavirus could be airborne. So generally a smart idea to wear a mask. Now, another one says, another example of Fox News assimilating the MSM. What a disgrace. Another one says, just don't. I cannot believe you were wearing their muzzle. I guess you're all talking your show. I am so disappointed in you. More. Toxic Logic, by the way. This is this user. And I say the username because that's some pretty toxic logic there. I'm usually with you, but on this, no, you're being duped. The mask is political, has nothing to do with health. Okay, who turned masks into something political in the first place? Oh, right, Donald Trump and Fox News. Remember, Donald Trump doing very, very badly in the polls, right? Partly due to his terrible coronavirus response. And of course, this also mainly their response to the George Floyd protests, right? So Donald Trump not doing very well. And look, he was pretty underwater his entire presidency. So he's never really had great favorable ratings, but coronavirus and the George Floyd protests, well, I mean, Disaster, right? So now he thought, and this is a way to explain away the bad poll numbers, that people are wearing masks to show how much they disapprove of Donald Trump. So let me just be clear about this, right? Nobody cares that much about Donald Trump. Look, we talk about him a lot on the show, right? That's because he's the guy that's fucking up the country right now. And so he's president of the United States. So what he does and says has a gigantic impact on the country. I would wish for nothing more than to never have to talk about Donald Trump ever again. And so, unfortunately, reality sucks. But anyway, so now, look, the guy can't help himself. He's got to make everything about him, obviously. And so he was convinced, or at least he has convinced people, that coronavirus has been made up by the Democrats in order to try to push him out of power or some other ridiculous thing. In the real world, of course, masks are about protecting us, ourselves, and others from what's a pretty nasty virus. Now, you tell that to anti-maskers, and you get all sorts of garbage responses. For example, one says, cloth masks won't protect you. Well, they do if everyone is wearing them and maintaining their distance. South Korea is a great example. There are countries that didn't even have to quarantine, didn't have to shut down because they had testing, because they had contact tracing, and because everybody wore their masks. And that's it. They followed their mask protocols. And actually, those countries have dealt with the virus much better than we have. And so this idea, of course, leads me to Schrodinger's mask. The mask that is so porous that it can let the virus in, but it's also so tight that it can't let carbon dioxide out and oxygen in. Yes, there are people that believe in Schrodinger's mask. One person says, well, I can't do it. Allergies, asthma, high blood pressure, had a mini stroke, and I carry this card. This card. Notice that it's from the Freedom to Breathe agency. It's a little hard to see, right? That's not a real agency. That's not a real thing. This is a creation of an anti-mask Karen who had too much time on her hands. And she was literally making this as a get out of slightly being uncomfortable for free card. That's what that is. More. Another one says, take it off, please. You are inhaling your own CO2 at 8,000 parts per million. Within a few minutes, that is toxic. It creates an acidic environment in your body, which errant cell production thrives. Viruses, cancer, fungal and bacterial infections, pneumothorax is also possible. That is probably the best attempt by someone who is probably very dumb to try to sound very, very, very smart. Again, it's Schrodinger's mask, right? Either it does not protect you at all because it is so porous and therefore useless, or it's literally making you choke on your own CO2. What is it? What is this? I mean, why don't you actually ask real doctors and nurses, the ones who wear those masks, or the more heavy-duty N95 masks, whether or not they're getting enough oxygen? Oh, wait, they are. Look, there are doctors that have put out videos out on social media where they're hooked up to machines that measure their oxygen sat and their CO2. And, of course, you've probably seen them. If not, they're out there, right? There are people, I mean, these people will put on up to 3 masks and face shields and all that stuff, and then measure their blood stats. And, well, it always turns out that they're getting, yes, enough oxygen, and no, they're not retaining CO2. And there's a scientific reason for that, right? Air molecules and carbon dioxide molecules are smaller than water droplets, right? Water droplets carry the virus particles in the air, right? And so that's the primary medium for how the virus spreads, through water droplets. The water droplets are, of course, expelled when people talk, when they breathe, when they cough, etc., right? So those water droplets are generally not small enough to go through the mask and carry the virus into your body, into your lungs. That's why masks actually generally do work. But of course, some people will watch this video and be like, he's just talking the devil's scientific nonsense again. I'm covered in the blood of Jesus, so I'm fine. Right. Of course. But a couple more responses here that are just basically rage. One says, no masks. Okay. All right. One other person says, I refuse to wear a fear mask. Right? Fear mask. And then last one here. This makes me sad, Jeanine. Fox is dead. Oh, if only. Well, then again, if Fox News was gone, right? And I'm not saying like, oh, we should ban Fox News, right? No, that's not the answer. But if Fox were to go out of business, right, some other hacky conservative outlet would likely take its place, because there are people out there that have to have their daily dose of outright misinformation, as long as it lines up with their beliefs, in order to make them feel, of course, special and important as the only people in the world, according to them, who know the truth. Because everybody else is apparently lying to you. When in reality, of course, the truth is all around us. And there are people that just absolutely refuse to see it. So there you go. All right. I'm going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back. I'm going to thank some patrons and some super chats, or read some super chats and all that stuff. So we'll do that. And we'll see you in a couple minutes right here. We'll have more stories for you around the nation.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Mike Pounds.
Why, you're getting nervous, man.
Welcome back to the show, Around the Nation right here, TWT Nation. Waldorf here with you. Just a couple of comments here. One here from Crapo Zappo says, points out that some people like my mom are weak breathers or weak in general because of their health. Wear a mask for people who actually have difficulty wearing them. Yeah, it's almost like, ironically, herd immunity, right? If everybody wears a mask, then you're basically protecting those who actually would be unable to do so. And so, again, it's a lot like getting a vaccine, which is another thing a lot of these people probably don't believe in. Yeah. So there's that. All right. 5G word proves the world is flat. I don't even know, man. I don't even know what are these people are talking about. Okay. Anyway, 5G is going to make the frogs gay. I'm pretty sure Alex Jones said that at some point. Okay. Anyway, so let's go to a couple of patrons here. I want to thank a couple of you for supporting the show. I want to thank DJ times 2 and let's see, Asmar Glenn. So thank you to those patrons. You sign up to support the show, patreon.com/TOT Nation. We don't get any corporate funding here or billionaire funding. No Soros checks. Sorry, I keep checking the mail, but there's no Soros check for me. So looks like I'm going to have to depend on fan funding, depend on you guys. Darn. I guess it's the light criticism that I give to Soros for influencing our electoral politics through his massive donations. Darn. Shouldn't keep stressing that point, how there should be no billionaire money, no Koch money or no Soros money, no billionaires giving billions of dollars to politicians. I gotta stop saying that. Anyway, maybe then I'll get a check. All right. So channel members, by the way, I want to thank Llama Mama and Aquarian Queen. So that's channel memberships. You can sign up to be a channel member by hitting the join button below. Okay. Anyways, and I did read the super chats earlier. Oh, no. One here from Sarge Tech says 2 people died from Ebola. And Fox News said Obama should resign. 130,000 plus dead from COVID-19, and Trump's doing a great job. Hell no. Oh, I definitely agree with that. It's amazing, the hypocrisy. Again, the virus shouldn't be political. If Donald Trump were doing a good job in dealing with the virus, then I would give him credit for dealing with the virus. I mean, I don't. If you do, again, this is why I'm like, yeah, Governor Mike DeWine, he's a Republican in Ohio. He's actually doing a decent job on the virus. Gretchen Whitmer. I don't like Gretchen Whitmer. She's a corporate Democrat. I didn't vote for her. I voted for Abdul Al-Sayed, who's a great progressive, by the way. And I think she's actually doing a fine job on coronavirus as well. And so you got to give credit where credit is due. If you're actually doing your job to protect your citizenry, then yeah, I'm going to give you credit, because this isn't about political points. But unfortunately, there are people in office that only see COVID-19 as a way to score political points, and it kind of makes me sick. Tom has with the weird comments, but super chat as well says, "Glad I make you laugh. Thank you, it made my day." All right, hey, appreciate it. What would I do without the trolls? I don't know, man. But let's get to Fox News and some suspicious edits. Very interesting. I love it. So last week, longtime Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested by the FBI. So now that's got many very powerful people likely very nervous about what she knows and what she could tell authorities. which is why Fox News made a very strange move to possibly protect Donald Trump. Now, Fox News on Sunday repeatedly pictured a photo of convicted sex offender and financier Jeffrey Epstein posing with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. So this was in a segment discussing Ghislaine Maxwell, and I actually want to show that to you here real quick, and show you like what it looked like to give you context. So take a look.
We call that a compound question. There's a lot going on in that question to kind of decompress, but yeah, I would say that all three of those things they're three different areas that we're all looking at. Obviously, we have the civil case against Epstein, the criminal case against Ms. Maxwell that everyone's focused on now, which is brought by the federal prosecutor, and then a civil case against Ms. Maxwell, which we are, has not been filed, but we are looking into.
What the hell are they doing with that picture? Okay, so look, you can see all that white space, right? In the image. Again, I'll put it up, right? Look at all the white space around there, right? You don't think the whole picture could have fit into that? Why did they have to cut poor Melania in half? What are you doing? She's half the woman she used to be, apparently. Well, then again, that's an older picture, so I guess she filled out. Anyway, that is really, really kind of strange. Very strange. So let me show you the original photo here, just for comparison. Okay, so take a look. That's the original, right? And you can see exactly where they cut out Donald Trump. Exactly. And again, what's left of Melania in the first picture was all of Donald Trump. Weird. So why not show the whole picture? That's a very strange edit. So look, we know Jeffrey Epstein was connected to a lot of very powerful people, right? You have politicians that include the Clinton family. Okay, Clinton family, Hollywood celebrities, bankers, financiers, as well as, again, the president, Donald Trump. Look, Jeffrey Epstein once threw a party with just him and Donald Trump where he brought in 28 girls. I say girls because I don't necessarily know what their ages were. And knowing what we know about Jeffrey Epstein, they could have been on the young side. I'm just saying. So that was really, really strange. Now, does it prove, of course, that Donald Trump had partaken in anything unsavory? We don't necessarily know. And I'm being super, super fair. I think personally, yeah, he probably was, but I can't say for certain, right? I don't have the evidence, right? And we don't have the evidence. What we have is speculation. But we do know that Trump had some pretty nice words for Epstein. He called him a fun and terrific guy back in 2002, and said this: "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." You don't say. You don't say at all. Look, that's exactly why Epstein was charged back in 2006 in Florida, right? For doing unlawful acts with a minor. And weird, he just happened to get a sweetheart deal from a little-known person named Alexander Acosta. Now, why is that name familiar? Why is Alex? Oh, right. He served as labor secretary under Donald Trump, which he also, by the way, served alongside in Florida, or I'm sorry, not in Florida, but in the administration, William Barr, who was nothing more than a flunky, of course, to protect Donald Trump. So, but why does this matter? Right? Why does the cropping of the picture matter so much? Well, again, it's really, really weird that they would crop this photo, but it always goes back to the hypocrisy, Following Maxwell's arrest, Donald Trump's son Eric tweeted out a photo of Bill Clinton walking his daughter Chelsea down an aisle at her wedding back in 2010. Maxwell appears to be one of the wedding guests in the background. Trump commented, "Birds of a feather." Interesting. But look, again, do we know 100% that Donald Trump knew about Epstein? Well, look, Donald Trump's a very thick person. He is not smart, which is an ironic defense, which I'm not even trying to defend Donald Trump. It's just a statement of fact. He's a stupid person. So, I mean, to say that, like, did he know explicitly what Epstein was about? I don't know. Possibly. But again, I don't have the evidence, right? That said, if I'm going to say that, then it is fair to point out that Bill Clinton's a much smarter person, right? Bill Clinton hung around Epstein, okay? Rode around in his jet, visited his island. Did he know about Epstein? I would say, I would think likely. But then again, that's just my speculation. I am kind of looking at it like, okay, after the fact. Totally fair, right? The big question, though, is did either of them partake in the illegal activities that Epstein was accused of facilitating and taking part in, along with Ghislaine Maxwell? That is the question. And again, I don't know the answer to that. But if you want to sit there and weaponize that question against Bill Clinton, well then, okay, then you're going to have to weaponize it against Donald Trump as well. Because, again, both of them have ties to Epstein. Both of them have traveled on Epstein's jet to their private island. And so it's fair game, guys. It's fair game. That's why Eric Trump was like, oh my God, delete. Got to delete it. Gone. Next day. Gone. And interestingly enough, why I do believe Fox News is cropping, out the photo and then apologizing for it, by the way. So they got caught. And let me talk about their apology for a second here. So now a Fox News spokesperson talked to the Washington Examiner, said, on Sunday, July 5th, a report on Ghislaine Maxwell during Fox News Channel's America's News HQ mistakenly eliminated President Donald Trump from a photo alongside then Melania Knauss, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell. We regret the error. No, you don't regret the error. You regret getting caught. Of course. I'm not saying that this proves that either one of them, of course, were involved in illicit activities. Only Epstein and Maxwell know. Epstein's dead. Mysteriously. Suicide. Right? You guys know I'm not buying that. And now, the news on that, by the way, is Ghislaine Maxwell just tested positive for COVID-19. The only people who know if these very powerful people are in power, one's dead, one's ill, and by the way, is going to the same prison that Epstein died in, or what? Not died. I can't do the air quotes for died, but suicided it, right? Oh boy. Did Ghislaine kill herself? That's going to be the next question. Oh boy. All right. Look, that's all I got time for. The stories anyway. A lot of great comments here. Let's see. Maxwell is dirt on Trump. Will she die a mysterious death? Again, she got COVID, so I don't know. Yes, Rachel, this is live, by the way. I think I saw you asking about that earlier. Totally live. Weary Pirate. She'll be dead by this time next week. And then, yeah, so I think a lot of us are in the the same mindset about this. A lot of people, very powerful people, very, very nervous. So, yeah. All right. Yes. Ernie Rink says a bunch of sleazy rich people, doesn't matter what political party they're in, they're all scum. I agree. I hate pretty much all politicians. So I hear you on that. All right. So, no, it's a pretty standard show, about an hour. So starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, Rachel. So if you want to check it, or hey, if you want to go back and watch the full stream, like you know how to do that as well. Dango Bangle says, take my money because I'm going to lose this bet anyway. I bet Ghislaine does not die until post-testimony. Huh. Fascinating. Okay. All right. I'll take it. I'll take it. We'll see what happens. But we'll see. All right. So that's it. Again, thank you guys for watching. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. And we'll be back with another great show tomorrow. 3 p.m. Eastern right here, TYT Nation. And remember, change begins with you. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Please clap.
Mike Pounds. Tolerize it.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.